Welcome back, riders. Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. Per tradition, every December, I count down my top 25 roller coasters leading up to Christmas Day. This year, I did it a little bit differently, as instead of publishing a video every day for each coaster, I only put out a community post each day. On that community post, I only shared the name, park, location, and a picture of each coaster. This video is meant to tie it all together and give some context for each coaster. For reference, I have currently ridden 626 different roller coasters, so this list represents just about the top 4% of coasters I have ridden. Without further ado, let's dig in. Starting at 25th is Incredible Hulk at Universal Orlando Resort's Islands of Adventure, a Bolliger Mabillard launched sit-down coaster. This is convincingly my favorite B&M with inversions. Of course, it has two of my favorite things when it comes to roller coasters, a launch and onboard audio. The launch is great, being an incline launched right into a zero-G roll while being surrounded by some pretty good theming. And then throughout the whole ride, the train is blasting an awesome onboard audio track. But even beyond those two things, this layout is an absolute powerhouse. Its pacing up until the mid-course brake run is excellent. It is literally all gas, no brakes. Add in a cool queue line as well, and I just love this thing. Up next at 24th is the Intamin Giga Coaster Pantherion, or as it was called the last time I rode it, Intimidator 305. Located at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia, this coaster is pretty much the Positive G king. This speed the coaster carries throughout the layout is just absurd. I love the quick lateral changes, especially since you're flying at 70 miles per hour for the whole ride, at least. Some people might say that this ranking is too low, but I personally prefer coasters that offer a little bit more of a varied experience. I threw a 5 is a little too one-dimensional for me, but boy does it do it well. Coming in at number 23 from California's Great America in Santa Clara is Gold Striker, a wooden roller coaster built by Great Coasters International. This is pretty easily my favorite GCI coaster. I think the main reason why it's my favorite is because of how aggressive it is, paired with the fact that it's got a little bit of a bite with its roughness. It's not a painful bite, but it's almost like it adds an edge to the experience that makes me like it more. This is a fantastic twister layout that always keeps you on your toes, sneaking in those classic GCI pops of airtime seemingly everywhere. Number 22 is Storm Chaser, Kentucky Kingdom's Rocky Mountain construction conversion. Storm Chaser took a little bit of a hit for me this year, as the rides I had on it this summer were easily the worst I've ever had. It was so sluggish, I literally thought we were going to valley before the brake run. But I will give it the benefit of the doubt, as during my other 3 visits to the park in prior years, it was absolutely fantastic. Strong sustained ejector in multiple spots, alongside a quirky ending that I find fun. Up next at number 21 is Outlaw Run, the original Topper Trek wooden coaster built by RMC. Located at Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri, I credit this roller coaster for making me a roller coaster enthusiast when I rode it with my dad opening year. It's coming up on 3 years since I've ridden it last, but I remember it being one of the best terrain coasters out there. I especially love the ending with the wave turn into the two inversions. It quickly turns into some awesome hang time that I really appreciate. Kicking off the top 20 is Copperhead Strike at Carowinds in Charlotte, North, and South Carolina. This mock rides multi-launch took a little bit of a hit for me this year with my rides. Not so much because I thought it was worse than in years past, but maybe I just ranked it too high in the past. Even now at number 20 out of 626, I might have this ranked higher than anyone else. I still find Copperhead to be one of the most fun coasters out there. It always puts a huge smile on my face and has me laughing during its numerous moments of hang time, air time, and lateral jolts. This is also the hang time king, and given that I love hang time, I have no issues ranking this as high as I do. Up next at number 19 is Cannibal, the weird, quirky, and unique headliner at Lagoon near Salt Lake City in Utah. As I did not ride it this season, Cannibal is now the coaster I have ridden the least recently on this list. My only rides came in 2017, so I could really use some re-rides, especially since my memory continues to fade on the ride experience. But I remember a killer drop and some awesome hang time. Each passing year, it's hard to rank this coaster for me, but it's still holding on to the top 25 after all this time. Coming in at number 18 is Twisted Timbers, another RMC conversion coaster, this one being located at Kings Dominion near Richmond, Virginia. If you love airtime, then Twisted Timbers is the ride for you. Its iconic moment of 3 airtime hills in a row is one of my favorite elements anywhere. The airtime is sustained and ejector. But even beyond those 10 seconds, the rest of the ride is solid too. Quite a few more moments of airtime mixed in with inversions, including the barrel roll down drop. This coaster reminds me a lot of Storm Chaser, but it feels more polished. Number 17 belongs to Wicked Cyclone, yet another RMC conversion. This is the first coaster that is new for the top 25 this year, although this was not a new credit for me. Before Cannibal, this coaster, alongside Superman at Six Flags New England, were the coasters I really wanted to re-ride the most, as I had not been to the park since 2016. I was fortunate to return to the park this year, and I'm happy to report that I really liked Wicked Cyclone. Of course, I did in 2016 too, but it's just so hard to remember how it compares to everything else after riding probably 500 more coasters since when I last rode it. But Wicked Cyclone is legit, an absolute powerhouse. Awesome moments of sustained airtime mixed in with some floaty inversions. Plus, I really like the Outer Banks. I wish more coasters did the smaller ones like Wicked Cyclone has. I was thoroughly impressed with Wicked Cyclone this year. Just missing the top 15 is Fly, the Vekoma launched flying coaster located at Phantasialand near Cologne, Germany. This coaster has everything. Launches, check. Airtime, check. Theming, check. Length, check. Positive G's, double check. Seriously, this coaster is so underrated in the positive G department. It piles it on virtually nonstop. And all of this while in the flying position, flying through perhaps the greatest themed area ever created. There is hardly anything that compares to the total experience that Fly provides. Up next at number 15 is the B&M Hyper King, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia near Atlanta. I really fell in love with Goliath last year, and my rerides this year solidified that love. This B&M Hyper is just so much more aggressive than all the others. Pair that with the unorthodox box layout, and this is a very unique Hyper. The airtime is extremely sharp, and there are multiple moments where you are pinned to your seat, rather that be sustained with the downward helix or falling back into your seats after those airtime hills. It just seems like you slam into your seat so much harder than all the other Hypers. Man, I just can't get enough of Goliath. Hyperia at Thorpe Park is the first brand new credit to make it to the top 25 this year. This brand new Mock Rides hypercoaster is located near London, England, and it has some of the most unique and craziest elements anywhere. The elements are just insanity. The two I want to quickly highlight are the drop and the overbank. It has one of, if not the world's best drop. And then the overbank or outer bank inversion is just diabolical in the best way. The rest of the ride offers strong moments of hang time and air time. The major drawback with Hyperia is that it's rather short for a coaster this size, but the elements it has outshines the drawbacks. Unlucky 13 belongs to Lightning Rod, a Rocky Mountain Construction topper track wooden coaster. Located at Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, this is a roller coaster that has changed significantly over the years. No changes more significant than this past off-season when they replaced the launch lift hill with a more traditional chain lift hill. I thought that once I rode this new version of Lightning Rod, it was going to be nowhere near my top 25, as I am a sucker for launch coasters. To my surprise, I was still a huge fan of this coaster when I rode it in the spring. I do miss the launch, for sure, but the rest of the layout is fantastic. I think you're out of your seat more than you're in it. The major highlight is the quad down. To this day, one of the most diabolical sequences out there. Obviously, it did fall in my rankings as I had it at number 4 last year, but all things considered, I'm very pleased with the current version of Lightning Rod. Moving into the top half of the list, we have Fury 325 at number 12. This B&M Giga Coaster is located at Carowinds near Charlotte in both North and South Carolina. This is still my favorite B&M, but I was slightly underwhelmed with my rides this year. I had it at number 7 last year based on my 2021 rides, and I had to bump it down after my rides this year were not as good as my rides in 2021. I think the main reason I thought less of it this year was because the dead spots really stuck out to me this time around. The area between exiting the tunnel and the airtime hill is a real dud, and the elongated helix after that airtime hill really zaps a lot of the excitement out for the coaster. Besides those two things, though, I absolutely adore this coaster. The speed is well utilized between the low to the ground maneuvers and providing sustained airtime higher off the ground. I really hope B&M gets the budget to create a coaster just as good as this one, if not better, in the future. Just missing out the top 10 is Terran at Phantasialand. Located near Cologne in Germany, this Intamin multi-launch coaster is the definition of fun. Just like Fly in the same park, Terran's theming is legendary as you speed through the themed area of Klugheim. The pre-launch sequence between the visuals and the music always sends shivers down my spine, even when I rewatch videos of it in the comfort of my home. It's got good pops of airtime across its extremely long course. While not as intense as Fly, I prefer Terran as I enjoy the launches more, and I feel like the theming is a lot easier to appreciate since it's not as intense as Fly. Kicking off the top 15 is Airy Force 1, a ground-up RMC coaster located at Fun Spot America Atlanta. This is one of the more powerful RMCs out there. What's weird is that I'm actually not the biggest fan of the beginning. The drop feels weaker for an RMC, while the Raven Trust Dive and the stall are just okay. After that, though, this ride is balls to the wall. The Outer Bank, Double Up, Arcade Roll, the turnaround, and the last inversion might be my favorite sequence on any RMC. And then you have the finale, which I don't love, but I do still enjoy it. I appreciate that it has more power than the ending on Steel Vengeance. But I wish one of those hills was sacrificed for a longer brake run because, damn, that full stop can hurt. Coming in at number 9 from Parc Astrix near France is the Intamin multi-launch Tutatis. Compared to Terran, Tutatis sacrifices some theming for a better and more extreme layout. That's not to say it has no theming. In fact, I would say it is still above average, but I love the few things with the layout. First is the hang time, both with the first inversion and the stall. Second, the launch sequence is fantastic. It's not every day you have airtime mixed in with launches, and Tutatis does that beautifully. Then the rest of the layout is fast paced with more pops of airtime mixed in. Number 8 tends to be an unpopular pick from me, but I've got Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain near Los Angeles. A lot of enthusiasts seem to complain about how the Mobius loop absolutely kills the pacing. I mean this in the nicest way possible, but I don't care. The major reason why I love Twisted Colossus is because, to me, this is essentially two fantastic roller coasters for the price of one. Sure, each half is a tad shorter, but coming from someone who has Goliath at his home park, each half is more than satisfactory. Twisted Colossus has a fantastic first drop that you get to experience twice. Mix in some great laterals and airtime, and you've got a fantastic winner in my eyes. Coming in at number 7 is yet another RMC coaster, Wildcats Revenge, located at Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be honest, part of the reason why this is one of my favorite RMCs might be because of its uniqueness. RMCs can blend together at times, but not Wildcat Revenge. Wildcat's Revenge does a great job of including laterals, which is a little bit of a change of pace for RMC that I am a huge fan of. I was also a huge fan of the third inversion, at least sitting towards the front of the train. This RMC is almost like a cross between Iron Gwazi and GCI the way it hauls through its layout while always keeping you on your toes. Just missing out on the top 5 is my favorite credit from my Europe trip this year, Hyperion at Energylandia in Poland. Obviously, I say this lightly since it's still ranked at number 6, but this ride is held back a spot or two because it has two absolute duds in the middle of the ride. Other than that, I loved my rides on Hyperion as it exceeded my expectations. The first 3 elements, the drop, airtime hill, and turnaround, is one of the best sequences on any roller coaster. The drop is absolutely fantastic. The airtime hill is one of the best in the world with sustained ejector airtime, and the turnaround tries to fold your upper body over your restraint. After the 2 duds in the layout, it turns into a little bit of a twister section combining laterals and airtime. Just what a fantastic roller coaster. If only it weren't for those 2 asterisks. Kicking off the top 5 is Conda, an Intamin mega coaster that resides at Walibi, Belgium near Brussels. I think the hardest decision I had to make within the top 25 was Hyperion vs Conda. Both are Intamin mega coasters, yet they do have their differences. Different trains, different first drops, and Hyperion has about 100 more feet in height. I think it ultimately came to those 2 aforementioned duds on Hyperion. I appreciate that Conda doesn't really have any elements that let me down. The wave turn maybe, but the wave turn doesn't upset me nearly as much as the 2 duds on Hyperion upset me. While I would prefer the airtime on the return run to be a little more sustained, the quick pops are endless and throws around your body like a rag doll. It has an absolute killer first drop and first airtime hill, just like Hyperion. Conda also gets the edge in the theming department. I really loved what they did between the physical theming and the synchronized audio. Coming in at 4th is my favorite RMC, Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. Based on just how it feels, I believe Iron Gwazi is the fastest paced coaster I have been on. Up until the last couple elements on the ride, it is absolutely crazy how much speed it carries through each element. It rips through the layout, tossing you every which way. The drop is fantastic, the overbank is fantastic, the death roll is fantastic. I think you get the point. This coaster is fantastic. My nitpicks for Iron Gwazi are extremely nitpicky. Like, this is pretty much the perfect RMC in my eyes. Well, except maybe the operations. Taking home bronze is at this point the legendary Velocicoaster at Universal Orlando Resort's Islands of Adventure. This coaster balances theming and extreme thrills better than any coaster out there. It does this while being an Intamin LSM coaster, which are all the rage right now and by far one of my favorite models. If you don't care for theming, I understand that Velocicoaster might be a bit overrated. The first half definitely has some of its foot off the gas, but for me, I love the whole theming package so much. The queue and station build anticipation almost like no other coaster. This coaster has great operations, great visuals, great launches, great airtime, great inversions. It's just wrapped up so nicely. Silver medal goes to Ride to Happiness, the Mock Rides Extreme Spinner at Plopsaland Japan in Belgium. This coaster is something else. It has pretty much everything. Hang time, air time, laterals, inversions, launches. Fantastic first drop. All of this while spinning, while listening to an awesome onboard audio. These are easily some of the best inversions in the world, especially the step up underflip. That element absolutely obliterates your sense of direction. The airtime is fantastic on its own, and then upgraded with the spinning cars as you might take it forwards, or backwards, or sideways. I really hope to see another Mock Rides Extreme Spinner over here in the States because Time Traveler just isn't on par. On its own, Time Traveler is a great roller coaster, but man, does Ride to Happiness show it up. Last but certainly not least, the gold medal, of course, belongs to Maverick at Cedar Point. This Intamin Blitz coaster has always had my heart. I believe I've had it ranked no lower than number 2 ever since I rode it in 2015. It has one of the best drops in the world as long as you're sitting in the back of the train. It has multiple fantastic lateral moments between the S-bends and the stingle dives. It has powerful sustained ejector airtime hills. It's got positive G's. The launch halfway through the ride is an absolute riot. I just love virtually everything about this ride. Those are my top 25 roller coasters for 25 Days of Coasters 2024. What do you think of my list? What are some of your top roller coasters? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you are interested in hearing more in-depth thoughts on most of the coasters on this list, check out my 25 Days of Coasters 2023 playlist in the card on your screen, or the link will be in the description below. Thank you for checking out the video. Push down, pull up, exit to the right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and go have your greatest day yet. Choo choo, bye!